Hello everybody, ciao a tutti and welcome to Art with Ms.B. Today we're gonna do a beautiful colorful design inspired by my summer in Italy. Some days ago I published a short about a lemony summery design and someone appreciated and asked me to do the long tutorial, so here we are. So today we're gonna do this beautiful design together. And what can I say? When life gives you lemon, let's make an artwork with them. For this practice, you need your art journal or a mixed media paper, pencil for drawing, a regular tip black Sharpie, fine tip black Sharpie, or any branded marker that you have available. I will use my Shadow Art alcohol markers. As you know, I love them very much. And during the practice, I will explicitly tell you which colors I'm using, just in case some of you bought the same box or has the same markers. I always say, you know, as usual, follow me. You can copy my design exactly as it is, but you can also add, subtract something. You can change the color in the background. Maybe you can do multiple like Andy Warhol and then use different color palette and compare them and create a bigger artwork out of this. You do you, as always. Remember to have fun, to breathe, to relax. This is a very simple design that everybody can do successfully, and I just love it because it is inspired by a beautiful memory of my recent trip to Italy, visiting friends and family, and it makes me think about Capri and the Costiera, and you know, it's a very pretty pattern. I'm gonna switch the camera so we can start. Oh, remember subscribing to my channel and share so we make this community bigger and better. Ciao! Okay guys, this is my journal. Let's start with my usual frame. This is how I like it to do it. So all the design in my journal look cohesive. If you want to use the ruler, you use the ruler. But I like a beautiful imperfection, as you know. So I like when things are well crafted and well done, but still you can definitely tell that they're handmade and not too perfect. Now I'm gonna use the pencil and I'm gonna start to set the lemons in different directions and different spaces in my surface. So we're gonna go with a nice curved lines. Lines don't have to be perfect. Lemons are natural, right? So we have one over here. I'm gonna place one over there. Another one probably here. If you need to move your journal around, do it. I would do it too, but I want to keep it as consistent as possible for you so you can see very well the way that I developed the design. I'm already left-handed, so that doesn't help. Now we're gonna make also part of lemons just going outside of the design, maybe just one over here, I would say, and no more. Now I'm going to set the leaves and we're gonna make them nice and big. So I start with the line that is in the center and then I do 1 and 2, very simple. I go on the other side, line in the center, 1 and 2. We first do like a side to side of each lemon, and then we're going to fulfill the rest of the space. We want a lot of overlapping, so we don't leave too much background. Of course, it is up to you. As I always say, you need to do you, so you do not have to copy exactly what I do. But I feel that for a good use of a space, for this type of design and pattern, you want to make sure that you don't have too much background left and too much gap between lemon and leaves, okay? So we can also imagine that a lemon would be outside of the paper. So in this case, we would have one beautiful leaf over here, maybe another one coming out just a little bit. Then we can have a third one coming and overlapping gently. We want to create some nice overlapping. Once again, not too much because it could be confusing, but a little bit. So we're going to add the partial leaf over here. We're going to add another one that comes all the way here. Then we're gonna have another one coming here and overlapping so we don't see the end of the leaf. And probably, let's see what we can do. And maybe one over here, just the tip that goes here, overlap on the back, and it's beautiful. You see, we have some gaps, so some background, but not too much. I'm gonna use like, if you want, you can kind of pretend that the light is coming from one direction. So let's pretend that the light is coming from here. So this section of the lemon, when I'm doing a very, very thin and light lines, this one is gonna be darker, this one is gonna be lighter. We're gonna do the same over here. We're gonna create the same over here, maybe a little bigger because it's farther apart from the light. The light is over here, so in this case, our lemon will be darker over here. And for this one is going to be probably darker like that, okay? So I'm using my alcohol marker, the Shadow art marker. This is a yellow. This is deep yellow. If you do not have these markers available and you do not have a variation of a darker yellow, you can always use the same yellow and just go over several times and it could show a little darker. For what concerns the leaves, I'm gonna use a bright green that is called grass green and the jade green, okay? So to create some variation. For the background, it is really up to you. I'm gonna probably use a vivid pink, like this one, or maybe, yeah, probably a vivid pink. But if you wanna do a blue, a green, or whatever, just do you. So we're gonna start. The beautiful things about these markers is like they are dual tip, so they will allow us to color very quickly, right? And please, if you do not have the dual tip, you're just gonna pause the video, take your time to color nicely, don't leave any gaps. So we want the color to be bold and well done, and then you will move on, okay? And as I say, remember, if you do not have the same marker that I have, you have another brand that you can find different variation in yellow, or you will just go over several times just on these sections with the yellow and it will look darker. You can even use an orange. You will have probably like a little deeper transitions, but it's okay. It is a design. This design, you know, it's very relaxing. It's very simple. Really, you exercise your fine motor skill by tracing this beautiful curved line that we use for the lemons and for the leaves. You play with some colors and see how the color patterns, you know, look into on your paper. And it's so very summery. And I know the summer is going little by little toward the end. Well, we still have plenty of time on the calendar because it's the September 21st. But as we know, we start to work again. Schools start here in Utah pretty early. Teachers usually, we go back on the 6th or on the 7th, depending on the calendar and student, a week or 10 days after that. So now we're gonna do the deep yellow, which is pretty orangey, very nice and dark already. I can only imagine how the orange is. So this design makes me happy and it makes me think about the costiera in Italy, Sicily, and they have amazing lemon trees, their beautiful smell. And it's just something nice and quick and refreshing. This is a beautiful pattern if you develop it and then you can digitalize it, so you work on it with vectors and stuff like that. You could print out. It would be beautiful print for kitchen towel, or I don't know, even a towel for the summer. It's beautiful. Now for the leaves, I'm gonna do a half of them with this light green and then the other half with the other darker green. And probably I will do this one over here. And you can do very small, short strokes as I'm doing it, or you can just do long, like this. I love to do this simple design that just makes me happy because there is no stress at all. It's just like a very easy, simple practice that everybody can follow. You can add your own personality, you can eliminate details, add details, and you just relax, let it go, look at your hands moving on the paper with markers, colors. It's just like truly refreshing and regenerating. And I will never stress enough how important it is for all of us to include some art in our life, not because we want to all train to become artists, not because we want to all become extremely good in whatever, but just because it's so beneficial to us, to our brain, our soul. It's relaxing. It helps us so much with anxieties, overthinking, which I'm a queen of it sometimes. So when you do this type of design, you are right now, in this very moment, focus on the paper, focus on the lines that you're tracing, enjoying the beautiful bright colors that you are setting on the paper. You feel curious about the final results with no judgment. And at the same time, we're also refreshing our knowledge about analogous colors, right? The yellow and deep yellow or light orange, they are on the same side of the color wheel. They sit next to each other. Therefore, they are analogous colors. The same with the light green and dark green. The color is always the green. They are just two different tint and tones. One is lighter, one is darker, right? So are the same family. Therefore, they are analogous colors. Analogous colors are they work very well next to each other in a different way that complementary colors do. Complementary colors, they work well because they create a visual contrast. And so they capture the attention of the viewer by contrast. On the contrary, analogous colors bring a harmony and cohesiveness into the piece by embracing each other, not with contrast, but with an harmonic gradation. So you see how many things can be learned and reviewed in something so simple like this lemon practice. Now I'm going to put away my light green and I'm going to start with the darker green. Patiently, I'm going to do the other side of the leaves. I'm honestly very glad that I got to do this pattern again, because I really, really enjoy this practice. So some days ago, I published a short about this little design that I made just for myself very quickly, just as again to think about my recent trip to Italy that was so good under so many points of view. And so I wanted to kind of, you know, refresh that feeling in my memory. And then I got comments, and one of you asked me if I could do the whole video, and so I say yes, of course, why not? You know, I'm trying to I'm always listening to your comments and your feedback, and if you have some requests, you know, if it's doable for me and it's feasible for me, I would do it with pleasure. So I'm very glad that, you know, some of you asked it for it, because I'm glad to do it over again. I changed something, because as you see, when you do something every time, you can improve, you can change. I feel that this one, in fact, it's prettier than the other one. So thank you for sharing your comment and making a little request. I'm always very happy to do it. If you like this design very much, and if you know, because it's very simple, you can do also multiple. One could have this type of color that it's a little more realistic for lemons, but you can also try instead, like Andy Warhol would do in pop art, altering all the color palette and making them very unrealistic. You can for sure have a light blue and dark blue, and I don't know, like a yellow background and leaves in another color. So you can really have fun and make multiple and play around with colors and color palette. And one more over here. Now on to the background. And as I say, I choose this vivid pink. Feel the pink and green goes pretty well together, because they are somehow sort of complementary. This is a very bright, intense pink that I would probably never use in other design. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of pink, but I'm learning how to incorporate also colors that I usually don't use, and see my reaction and what happened and how I can make them work in my design. If you want to try another color, if you want to have a darker background, then you can go with the blue or with the purple maybe. Or if you want to have more on the analogous, you can find another green, way darker, of course, and very different from the one that you use for leaves. And because you want some variation, right? It is important to be cohesive but not repetitive. Mostly I thought that this is a very summery, fresh and funny design, so why not? Why not some pink? here. I like to proceed a little space by little space, so I'm sure that I'm not coloring where I'm not supposed to. And it also, I don't know, to me it gives me a sense of organization on the paper. If there is a little overlapping between the pink and the green or the other color, don't worry, I actually really like it. It makes it look a little more authentic and more, I don't know, a little vintage. And voila, our background is done. Now with the extra fine Sharpie, we're gonna do the outlines of every line. So the lemon, these lines, all the leaves, and then we're gonna add the veins of the leaves, so the final details and some dots. So let's start. If you are a very young artist in this moment and you're doing my videos, just remember that doing the outlines takes some time. So just go slow. If you need to go slower, that I go, and go follow the pencil lines. Don't worry about the overlapping on color. Follow the pencil lines that you trace at the beginning. So the markers will set exactly, or as exactly as possible, on the lines that you drew before with the pencil, and it's going to make the design look very nicely finished and a little more precise. Sometimes you can go over one more time and make the black line a little thicker. Remember, follow the pencil lines. If you need to use a multiple line and you don't wanna, you cannot still do it just in one, use multiple lines. You do you. At the beginning, your outline might not look so precise, but then the more you exercise it, the better will go. Right? Because practice makes a huge difference. What I like about this design, they are very friendly and very approachable, because as you see, it's nothing complicated, and really the majority of us can do it. So any type of skills and artistic background, but with something so simple, you can create something so pretty, so cheerful, and so rewarding. Just a little bit of practice, a few supplies, and 20-30 minutes more or less to dedicate to yourself. So a little effort, a little attention, and then you have something very pretty. Then hopefully we'll give you other ideas, because the fact with creativity is that the more we create, the more we push our creativity. And so we have a multiple idea, and I suggest you listen to your idea, execute them. If you cannot do it right away because you have other tasks, write them down. I want to try this and that. I want to do this and that. So you have them ready when you have the time and the inspiration. Now we are going to add the lines in the leaves. Take a little time and care with this. We're not gonna rush them. Gonna make them nice and neat. You can make them straight. You can curve some of them, whatever works better. I'm gonna do some straight and some curved just to add a little movement and don't make them look all the same. Don't make too many. It's nice, leave a nice gap between each line so they don't look too busy. Because we use such a bright color palette and such an intense color for the background, I don't want the design to look too busy into details and patterns because it might feel a little overwhelming to the eyes. If we keep it nice and simple, but at the same time we take care of details, the result is gonna be very nice because you have a beautiful design, but it's still like not overdone. It's not overstimulating. And just drawing lines makes me feel so relaxed. Repeat, 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 repeat. It's very settling. And now I forgot to tell my husband that I was recording and I just saw his car from my window. So probably you're gonna hear some background noises. Hopefully not too many. And this is the garage, for example. I don't know if you can hear it. So hopefully it's not gonna come in shutting out something, because I do not intend to redo this video again because it's just coming out so good. A little extra patient to finish these last leaves. Double check, look, I forgot one. And now we are gonna add a few tiny little dots, not everywhere, a little bit on the yellow, a little bit on the orange, random dots. Don't overthink it, just do it by touching the paper with the marker. Do it only on one side, don't make too many. You just, as we say, we don't want to overdo the design. We want to keep it nice and simple and not too busy. But these dots are just the tiny final details that make the design way better. and few over here. And our design is all done and it's very pretty and very bright. I hope that you enjoy this practice. I did so much. I feel refreshed and cheerful and joyful. I see you very soon for another practice. Ciao!